Welcome to Two Whatever's Way Up. I am your host of the day, Seth. Today I have with me Hope.
It's a blank slate, actually, so this will be very interesting.
I'm so excited. You coming in cold is the opposite, I think, of how me and our guest Rebecca are coming in. How you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm so good. I want to give a little intro to you, but I was actually trying to figure out if I had known you longer than I had been podcasting, and I think I have.
You have, yeah.
I think you sit outside of my like podcasting life, so it's funny that we're what 7 or 8 years into Film Rescue at this point, into all the shows, and I'm just now getting you on. What if I've messed up here, Rebecca?
I don't know, man, because all I do is watch movies and I watch a lot of TV, so this is on you, but I'll forgive it because we're talking about one of my favorite movies. So,
Hell yeah! Well, let's talk about
Introduce
this movie. We're talking about Sky High, directed by Mike Mitchell. This was a influential 2005 film on me, I will say. Very, but not the movie itself, but the events surrounding it. But we'll get into that in just a minute.
Right?
You've not seen this, right, Hope?
No, I went in last night. Well, it was actually really interesting. I did a double feature of Sky High and followed it up with Saltburn. So, um,
Wow. Okay. Keeping
hell
us
yeah.
topical. Okay.
because I needed to balance out my PG rating with my fucked rating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
but yeah, last night was the first time I'd ever seen this movie, and I is a little mad at myself because I was like, how have I not seen this with one of my crushes, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, in it?
Right.
And like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, what?
What a treat. I'm so glad that you got to jump in on this absolutely cold. Rebecca, this was
Oh yeah.
your suggestion. Actually, I think last year we had chatted about trying to
Yeah.
do this, and then, life got in the way and all that. What was your introduction to this movie? How did you find it?
So I saw it when it came out in theaters. So 2005, I must have been in seventh grade, sixth or
Same.
seventh grade.
Same.
Yeah, so I saw it in theaters and I fell in love with like multiple people on that screen.
Kind of a like high school bisexual awakening movie, right?
Yeah, no, it was a problem
I,
because I didn't know that I was bi at the time. I actually didn't realize until many years later, but Ms. Mary Elizabeth has been one of my crushes for a million years, and it started, yeah, because Sky High came out, and then like years later it was Scott Pilgrim. So like I
Yeah.
fell in love with her, and then I was very much in love with War and Peace, played by Stephen Strait. Like that was my crush
Hmm.
for a million years after I saw that movie. So
I love it. What see, so this was influential for you as well.
yeah, oh yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I same kind of backstory. I
have
was
to
in high school.
say,
Go ahead.
no, because no, I was gonna say, were you in high school or middle school? Because it was like 2005. So I'm trying to,
2005
because I
from
was already in.
91, I was 14, so I think I was like freshman. This would have either been ending middle school or starting high school for me. I think I
Yeah,
was like
because
right in that
I
because
was
it
in
was
high.
summer, I think, when it
I
came
was
out.
right. I think I was in high school already, so I think that's might be why I like skipped it because I was like,
Mm.
oh, it's a Disney PG.
Like a kids
I
movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it gave those vibes. So I was like, I think I'll. And I was also like in my film clubs and everything, so it's like I'm gonna watch Kubrick and blah. Like,
Right.
so
I'm too cool for this.
I need to do art, not.
Well, and to your defense, before I rewatched it for the podcast, I remembered it being closer to those like Leslie Nielsen scary movie, like kind of like I remembered it being a little more
Right.
of a satire. So rewatching, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, this is way more earnest than I recalled.
Mhm.
I understand why you might have skipped it. It did kind of bleed a little bit. Like, is this like epic movie? Is this just here to make fun of superheroes?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Or not only that, but like I felt maybe it was engaged a little bit younger,
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
so I was like, maybe like the premise to me was like, okay, cool, but I don't. If I'm gonna watch a Disney movie, I'll like put on like Goofy movie or something. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, it was my church group, and it was a post youth group go out and watch a movie kind of night, which was not something I was normally allowed to do. So it was very special to me to be able to like go out with all my friends and see a movie like
okay,
this. Yeah. And we went with one of the older kids. I think he was like youth leader. He was in his 20s, and so he was just like really hype about this and was really into superheroes at the time, and so his excitement kind of rubbed off onto me, and sitting in the theater, uh immediately War and Peace was like my guy. I did not vibe with Will Stronghold my
Me
first watch.
neither. But to
Okay,
be
okay, so
fair,
I'm not
yeah.
crazy then.
no, I also don't usually like protagonists of most movies. Like usually if it's the main character, I'm not about you. Like I watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because I grew up with Sabrina, but I found her to be like the most trying. Like even growing up when I was into Harry Potter, I was like
Wow.
Harry is the absolute worst. Like I'm usually not about the protagonist at
I
all.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
there for
especially
basically everyone else.
for like what could be like chosen child trope. Those are so hard
Yeah.
to get into now. We've just seen too many of them. Um,
Agreed.
s- so let's kind of jump in. Initial feelings on the movie. Hope. We're getting some like early MCU shit here. Including up to Michael
Yeah.
Giacchino coming in for this score. He did the Avengers movies. Like you don't get to Thanos and his theme without Michael Giacchino doing this movie. So what were you thinking watching this as an adult? Obviously, it's a kid themed movie. Did anything pop out? Did it grab you at any point to surprise you to be like, oh wait, there's something more here?
Rebecca, that's all you because you saw it as both a kid and an adult. So what's like how you compared and
Um,
contrast it?
I mean, it was funny because like I saw it when I was a kid. I loved it as a kid. Yeah, I must have been like I was in like seventh grade because I know I wasn't in high school yet because I know if I had reached the high school age I wouldn't have watched it. But
Mm.
um yeah, as a kid, I mean, a lot of the same feelings. Like I was like my taste as a child and my taste as an adult are the same. Like the people I
Wow.
had a crush
Okay.
on, like I remember seeing War and Peace and being like, that is a man. Like I was like so into him in seventh grade. And then when I rewatched it, like I watched it like a couple weeks ago. Um and I just remember being like, no, I was still right. Like that is still like the man to me in this
Yeah.
movie. But then I also had like a more of an appreciation for the side characters as I got older. Like I
Mm.
love the girl that like turns into a little gerbil, and I love the guy that's
Yes,
like so
magenta.
obviously in love with her. Yeah. And
Oh
like the
yeah.
guy that's so obviously in love with her because he's just like so goofy and so sweet. And I don't think I like really made that connection the first time I saw it. But yeah, yeah, I still enjoyed it as an adult. I thought it was really cute and really funny, and like now it just comes off campy because I'm a grown up, but
Totally.
I do enjoy it. It's a great movie.
And it's I
Mm,
don't think it's
the little camp.
yeah, I don't think it's even shying away from that because there's a lot of scenes that
Yeah,
still feel like those late '90s Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. Like there's a lot of that kind of visual applied to all the action sequences that make it, I think, feel like that old Schumacher camp. But I think
yeah.
it's embracing it.
Straight up did a poison ivy thing. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
smart me. Redhead with plants. Come on.
Yeah.
So, Hope, how about you? What on first watch? What stands out to you as being like this movie's strongest aspects?
The fact that I got Bruce Campbell.
Straight up, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hard to argue with.
Honestly, I was shocked at this cast list. I was really shocked. Um, it was crazy. I was like Kurt Russell, Bruce Campbell. We have like all these. Uh, they might have been young actors at the time, but they've grown up and they're prolific actors in pop culture now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One one thing I found was funny was our main guy, Will
Will
he
Stronghold.
and Will Stronghold, he and Glow, they're both actually people in one of my favorite movies, Red State. They're two of the main characters who get tortured
Yeah.
by the church.
Yep.
So I was like, it's really different to see Glow like that, and then him being tortured later on. But, um, I thought it was a very campy movie, as you guys said, but also, like, if you have Bruce Campbell, how is it not going to be campy? Like, it's in his name.
Right.
And again, I feel like it was definitely gauged for the right crowd. It was gauged for the right people. It was very cute. I know Jesse, he didn't want to come on the episode because he has superhero fatigue. And I was like,
A little burned out,
get
I
it.
understand.
I get it. But to me, since it was something new, it wasn't particularly MCU or DCEU or.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's a throwback. It's nothing new. I was like, okay, it's a shot, And it was very cute. It was very endearing. Did I obviously see everything that was coming? Of course I did.
Oh yeah.
But that's looking through it with adult eyes, So it is what it is. But I agree with you guys. I loved the side characters more. I wanted to punch Will. Just
understandable.
But then again, I also wanted to punch the commander too. I was like, how thick-headed are you? I know they're going for like the trope of tropes, but still.
Yeah, he's I think the commander as standing as like a Superman / Captain America stand-in, he's kind of pulling double duty where like he needs to show up and be a good dad, but also he's kind of doing this like 1950s kind of dad, like Leave It to Beaver thing that,
Yeah.
like I think it works great in the movie, especially as like he is so stupid to not recognize his high school girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
gosh.
I love that the plot of this movie is basically based around him being an idiot. Like none of this happens without it.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
at the end when he's talking to Will and he's like, "Oh yeah, kid, none of this is your fault. This is just what superheroes do." It's like, this is your fault, homie. Like straight
Yeah.
up, this is your fault, Dad.
Well, the fact that he was like, "You're a woman," and it's like, bro, like, like how is Jetstream married to him? Is what I want to know. She
Right.
seems like very
She's the
level-headed,
brains.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't care, super strong. You keep him as a work buddy. Like,
Right. But then you marry Mr. Boy, right? Like that's the way it should go.
Yeah.
and I say, Mr. Boy was all over her, and like towards the end, you could definitely tell the wheels were turning, and she's like,
Right.
I fucked up.
I couldn't remember the events around Mr. Boy from when I had seen it as a kid. So rewatching, I was like, is he going to reveal that he's gay? Is that the joke here? And then I was like, no, this is a Disney movie. We're not doing
Yeah.
quite that. But that
It's not. It's a 2005 Disney movie at that.
Yeah. There was another movie that came out around this time from Disney. I think it was called Zoom. It was about Tim Allen as the Flash, basically.
Yes, and I didn't see
Look
that
at Rebecca's
either, but I know
face.
what you're talking
I'm like,
about.
wait, that happened? Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what's that like movie that everyone thinks happened that never happened? You know what I'm talking about? Like
Shazam or something.
Shazam.
Shazam.
Shazam's a real movie. But you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, what does this have to do with superheroes? And I'm like, oh wait. But no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why did they make Tim Allen a superhero?
So this came out the very next year, I think because of the success of Sky High.
It did. It was so similar, just different powers, pretty much.
Absolutely
'Cause I remember
inverted
seeing
success
reviews.
though. Like I think this movie made its budget back like 3 times over. Zoom only made like 12 million on a 75 million dollar budget. Like
Oh man.
it is a big yikes movie. A big yikes compared to Sky High. And it was weird they came out like right back to back. Same studio.
Hey, I mean, here's the thing. You got Kurt Russell, and then you picked Tim Allen.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Kind of yeah. Kind of a
Like
step
what
down.
you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing.
Rebecca, how about you? What on your adult rewatch? What is standing out to you as like, oh, okay, this is why I might show this off to, maybe a kid in your life in the future, or somebody else who's into this kind of thing. What's the
Yeah.
price of admission for you?
I think I mean I've made my niece and nephew watch it and they thought it was really fun.
Cool. Okay.
Even for like
There you
today's
go.
standards, and they're a bit older, but they were like, yeah, it was cool, but like I don't think they're gonna write home about it. But
Totally.
I don't know. I think it's just like it's such a simple story. It's really not that hard to follow. The characters are really fun and interesting. Even like, we were just talking about the side characters, but even the ones that you don't really get a story on, I feel like they did a really nice job at like showing you who these kids were.
Yeah.
Like that one
Yeah.
scene. I mean,
Yeah.
the scene that I loved in the movie when I was a kid, and it's still my favorite, is like when they're trying to figure out like who's a hero and who's a sidekick, and all the kids have to show their powers. And
Yes.
Right.
I think it's just such a cute scene. But even at the very end, right, when they go to the dance and you see a few more like side characters that don't even speak, they don't have speaking roles. You just kind of see them doing their thing and hanging out. You get kind of a complete-ish picture. Like
Yeah.
like at the end, when because obviously I'm not going to forget that War and Peace finds himself a little girlfriend at the very end who has like ice powers, which is just such a cute little like, you get it. You get what she does, and she doesn't even speak. She's on the screen for 2 seconds, right? But
Right.
you get what they did there, and I feel like that's the real fun part of it, is that anytime I watched it an insane amount as a kid, and then rewatched it a couple weeks ago. Is that you kind of notice these fun little side characters that don't need to say anything, but you get what their deal is because they just put a little effort into building those people out. I thought it was just like that's the most fun part for me.
Oh yeah. I was noticing in the party scene at the Stronghold house, the
Hmm.
girl with duplication powers is in every shot as a background extra because
Yeah.
she's like
Yes.
going around the party with multiples of herself. So there's a dialogue sequence where they're cutting back and forth to the characters and you see her on opposite sides of the camera with her back turned, and then as they move around the party she's showing up in every shot, and I was like, what a cute, like that. It takes
Hmm.
no extra time to be like, oh,
Makes
today
sense.
you're an extra and you're going to be in every shot because it's going to add to your powers in the movie in the background. Like, yeah, they couldn't give her more screen time, but like this movie's kind of packed out for screen time for the characters. So it's really cool to see them taking those steps to be like, oh no, yeah, just look at the movie and you'll see little extra things sprinkled into the background.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
no,
think a
for
lot
sure. I
about.
love that.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I love that. That they
Yeah.
they use they I'll give it to them. They used their screen time.
Mm,
Some people don't know how to do that. Some people drag it or like they put too much on certain characters, but they knew how to use their screen time. I will give
yeah,
them that.
yeah.
Which I think is great for a kids movie. Kids, they
Yes.
want to be engaged. They look at everything, even if it's a movie, they kind of observe all these things. I think it's just a really smart move when you're making a movie, especially for that demographic. It just makes it more fun.
when I was
Yeah.
a when I was a kid, I remember me and my siblings would like fight over which character we got to claim from each movie, and so having all the sidekicks get their own little moments, multiple moments of screen time across the movie, yeah, it adds to that feeling for kids of like, oh yeah, if I'm going to claim the puddle kid as my power, then he's going to use his power a few different times across the movie. It's not
Mhm.
just in the setup scene. He uses it later in a fight. He uses it in the final fight, like and shows that he's learned how to use his power. Like he's a
Mhm.
puddle that trips people. I love that. Like that is a little 3 act character structure for a side character. And so me as a kid could watch that and go, okay, they've given him just enough screen time that is a full ass character in my head. I'll fill in the
Yeah.
rest. Thank you. Uh,
So my little goth ass loved Magenta because
Oh,
one,
she was
she was
so
the little
great.
she was the tough goth chick, and then on top of it, I was like, you turn into an animal, and I love animals.
And I
Right,
just
of
That's
love that
great.
course.
I love
it's like a
that.
gerbil or a guinea pig. Like I just thought that was such a
Yes.
great choice.
And they still put little magenta highlights in its hair and
Yeah.
stuff.
I loved that.
Yeah, I love those little bits. Rewatching this today was I came into this with kind of like, you know, your post MCU mindset to be like, okay, what were we up to back in 2005 that turned into this whole Iron Man Avengers mess? And you can see a lot of the like early switchover from that Power Rangers style of action into genuine action sequences. And even in the movie,
Yes.
specifically the power sorting scene is very campy. It's very Power Rangersy. It's very like CGI leaning. By the time we get to the end and Will's like throwing characters around by their ankles and it's all happening in one big wide shot. I love that move into like, no, we're going to take this action seriously, and this is the first time you're seeing kids action be done in a way that like an adult man could be like, oh wow, this is cool, like this is
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
action scene to watch.
Because it was real, so to say, you know.
Right, exactly. And like, and this is 3 years previous even to the first Iron Man movie, which is our like, I think our kind of centering point. Two, really? Didn't it come
I
out in
thought it came.
2008?
Maybe it did. I don't know. I thought
Yeah,
it was 7.
we're within a couple years of the MCU even
Wait,
starting,
yeah.
and that's where everyone points to like the Dark Knight, and Iron Man is like, oh yeah, superhero movies are action movies now. And I'm
Mhm.
looking back at this and going, I mean, I know it's a kids movie, but that finale is as
Yeah.
MCU as some of the stuff I've seen on Disney Plus. You know what I mean?
It's that, and it's also it reminded me of like I don't remember. I mean, I think this came out first. I don't remember, but like, you know, the X-Men movie, the one Zoe Kravitz is in. I don't remember any of those movies
Oh my
because
God.
no
No,
offense,
yeah,
I
she's
didn't
in like
enjoy them.
one of the bad ones too, right?
Yeah, so like, I don't remember what year that one came out, but they have a scene where it's like they're stuck in the house, the Professor X's house, I think. I don't know. If anybody who's watching this podcast wants to give me shit for not knowing any of this stuff, like go ahead. My DMs are open because I don't know any of this. Anyway,
Bring it.
bring it. So there's like that scene where like they're all showing off their powers and like the one kid accidentally like chops the statue in half and like you know and it's very like kid like because they're just like, oh, we're all stuck in this house, like what trouble can we get into, blah blah blah. And it just
Right.
reminded me of that scene in Sky High where they're all like trying to see like what their powers are, and I'm like, okay, I feel like they like I'm pretty sure Sky High came out first, but either way, it's like
It
there's
did.
so many things in Sky High that just feel like this weird, very rough blueprint of these, I don't want to call them tropes, but things that you see in a lot of superhero movies. Like,
Yeah.
person tries out the power, accidentally screws something up, or like meets other kids with powers and they want to like, you know, mess around and see how they can work together or whatever, like test things out. Like it's just these like little things that they did throughout the movie. And I'm like, well, I feel like every superhero movie kind of does something like this in some way, especially if it's
Yeah.
starting with like a very young protagonist or like a, you know, like an origin story kind of thing.
And this is also a very unique setting. Even today, I think Miss Marvel's the first show that pulled us back into high school for superheroes. We're not getting a lot of superhero
Peter
like
Parker goes to high
movie
school.
stuff.
That's
You
all
know
I
what I mean?
got.
Like I think we got a couple really cool series across this time
Yeah.
that did like you know, high
I was
school
gonna say
age.
as soon as she mentioned X-Men and the time period, as soon as you said high school, I was like, X-Men Evolution, baby.
Oh yeah. I remember that
It was that
animated show.
2000 yeah, it
Oh
was the it
yeah.
was like 2000s animated show where it was all the X-Men characters, but they were in high school, and they were, the same thing, like testing out their powers. They had all the new mutants come in like season 2, and then like they were, so, and like it was, so that's exactly where I think that they even got some of their ideas from, was that show, because again, it was taking your normal characters and making them high schoolers and like learning and reaching that demographic. And that was one of the
Yeah.
first times you saw the transition of like adult heroes to like, no, that's me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I like the way it can stand in as like a metaphor for almost any like high school struggle. As I was watching initially, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "This movie's very gay coded," and then as it continued, I was like, "Nah, this movie's just very high school coded. It's very like like
It is.
closeted about feelings, not about
Yeah.
like it's specifically sexuality. It's very like
Just in
everyone has
general.
their own little thing that they're hiding inside."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, first of all, I think almost anything, if you wear a costume as part of your job, it's gay coded. Like, that's my
Accurate.
belief. Like, if you
Accurate.
wear, like, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, but that's how I feel about wrestling. Like, wrestling for men is drag queens for women.
Yeah.
And I could elaborate, but I won't.
Wrestling
But
is
like,
a legit soap opera. Don't even.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
it
legit soap
is. I'm
opera.
just like, it's this, but, and I love wrestling. So I'm just like, all right. Like, again, not saying that men can't be into drag queens
No,
and
I
women can't
love
like
it.
wrestling. That's not my point. But like, you get where I'm going with
No,
this.
Let's call
I
it
But
get
what it
it. Like,
is. Yeah.
no, I love it. Yeah.
but
A
like
spade's a
with,
spade. Wrestling is male machismo soap opera. That's all
yeah,
it is.
and I'm just like,
Right.
this is, yeah. But with Sky High, like, yes, I think it's a little gay coded, but like, when I rewatched it as an adult, I don't know if it's because now I'm an adult and maybe I'm a little, in here, little screw loose in here. But I was like, wait, could like Will being a like not getting his powers late make him like a late bloomer? Like, is he just like, I don't know, it reminded me of like Big Mouth when Nick is like, I like can't, no, not Big Mouth. Did you guys watch Sex Education?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like when he like can't get off because it like freaks him out or whatever, I'm like, is this like a
Mm-hmm.
metaphor for just like not being able to like, not doing all the sexual things that your friends might be doing? I don't know. It wasn't
Sure.
because it's just about powers, but
Yeah.
you know, like I don't know. I do kind of feel for him being like because he was like such a late bloomer, like getting his powers, but other than that, I was not there for him at all.
Yeah, I was much more empathetic on this watch for him,
Yeah.
especially going through some of the problems that he does. Like the reason that he stands up his friend on their date is because the girl came over to his house and like cut off connection there, and it wasn't like I remembered it feeling more shitty in the moment when I was younger of like, no, you can't let your friends down like that. And then looking back, I was like, oh yeah, how would you have got out of that situation if you had even remembered? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
and again, like the movie has to happen too, so we gotta keep the plot rolling. But yeah, I was a little more empathetic to him on this round. His like, I the way it presented to me this time was I'm a jock learning about my feelings with the theater group, and now I need to like contend with, do I want to hang out with the cool kids or do I want to hang out with the theater kids? And that was like that's endearing to me because that's what I went through too. You don't get over 6 feet and not get invited onto the sports teams, but like I like movies and I like acting, so like I was with the theater kids. I preferred the weirdos, you know what I mean?
I mean, that was not my high school experience. I was closer to being magenta than anybody else in that
That tracks.
movie.
That kind of tracks.
Bro, same. I dubbed myself like leader of the misfits. So, like, I got you.
I like that aspect of the movie too. They really give the kids like, I don't want to say useless powers, but the sidekicks specifically really get um I don't know, like
It's so bad.
it's like household powers, maybe is the way I want to put it. Like
Yeah,
it's so like low stakes, but they even find a way to get everybody's powers incorporated into the finale. Like
yeah,
I really respect that. The plotting here is really tight.
yeah. No, I love the sidekick powers. Like the one kid, he just glows, right? Like that's his thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He just glows. I just thought that was so. I mean,
Powers
I feel
maybe
like that could be
could
helpful.
And like he literally has the line when we're in a situation where we need a light and you guys are going to be happy to have me, and then it shows up. Like I what power would you pick of the sidekick specific powers? Which one would you select?
I would probably pick that one just because I don't know, I lose shit a lot. Like I feel like if I had like more light, I would be able to see the things that I'm like that like are right in front of my face. Like I feel like that'd be a good one.
Yeah,
Like it's
especially at
just
night.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just feel like that's helpful, you know.
Do you think he can
And it's
like individually, like do you think he can light his whole body and specific body parts? Because I could do like fingertip lights would be
yeah,
super useful.
I think he probably
you want
gets
to ET
there.
everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Like he really gets there at some point, right? Like I'm hoping in his life where him and Magenta like are high school sweethearts and then go to college together and they get married. I'm hoping that he like eventually can do that. Like that's how I see it in my
Glowing
head.
guinea
Like I would
pig.
love that power.
Well, and like the anime of all this, all of their powers are scalable, right? Like he literally emits light from his body. That is going to be an
Mhm.
OP power at some point if it scales.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Turning into a guinea pig as well. Like maybe she can control the size of the guinea pig. Maybe she could make like a human sized guinea pig, which would be a very useful to be able to be
Maybe she
big
can
and small,
control all guinea pigs.
right?
That'd
Maybe
be
it's
crazy.
Ant-Man type. Even the puddle kid, like being able to turn
Yeah.
yourself into liquid is so
Yeah.
useful.
Or like turn yourself into
Dude,
liquid,
he could
put
be like
yourself in a
spy
bottle,
missions and
sneak
shit.
in. Yeah,
I-
like sneak in somewhere disguised as a bottle of water. Like
oh
crazy.
man, and then you have him get tripped up, and he's got to go through a TSA line, so they split him up into a bunch of little 3-ounce bottles.
Sorry, we can't let you in with that.
Time to test out your stamina, kid.
Right. It's hard to hold this for. Yeah, I could see it. I could totally see it. The anime aspect of this, I'm into a show called My Hero Academia, enough so that I have
I
an
was
All
hoping
Might.
you'd bring that up.
I have an All Might tattoo because he's my favorite character in superhero fiction. This movie is the blueprint. We like My Hero is the TV show about this premise.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Straight up, just straight up.
Yes.
The
I mean, you have your hero courses, you have your support courses, you have your B heroes. Like
a
Oh.
everybody
super
in the world
villain
has a
school ending up being part of the villain's plot
yeah.
in the later stories. That dude, they every
Yes.
single thing in this movie has been sharked into My Hero at this point. It's cool to see the blueprint. Like I'd be curious if this like directly influenced, or if this is more along the lines of that like parallel thinking. Like if we were
Yeah.
assigned to make a superhero high school, we'd probably end up in the same writing positions and just trying to
Yeah.
make them as different as we could. So like I'm not saying
Mhm.
anything was stolen here. I don't want any anime fans in the comments telling me that I'm accusing them of stealing.
No,
It's
they're gonna
just
be
really
too busy
cool.
yelling at me for not for first of all, I haven't watched this show, so I'm gonna have to watch it. And then you're gonna have all the Marvel fans yelling at me for not knowing which X-Men movie I was trying to talk about. So it's fine. You'll have other people yelling at you for other reasons.
Listen, as long as they're yelling in the comments, that brings in the views, and that's all I
No,
care about.
exactly. Go
That's what I'm
ahead.
saying. Bring the chaos.
Yeah.
Right. I'll argue in the comments all day. It's so fun. Plotting wise, anything not working for you guys in this movie? Is there? I don't want to dip too far into negatives because this is not a film rescue episode. But like, what doesn't work for you guys here, if anything?
I would
Mm,
say my biggest thing is the the whole aspect of, you know, you would think they would vet these kids a little more before coming into the school. Like I
Oh,
feel like that whole while it's an iconic scene, them like side hero, sidekick and power stuff, I feel like that should have all been vetted prior, you know?
yeah.
Because what if certain, and I'm taking this to an extreme obviously, but like what if certain kids' powers are very powerful, but they can't control it yet.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, we'll show us here on the stage with every other child, you know? Um, it's like, oh, well, I can make vacuums in space. And then, like, they kill everybody because they took out all the oxygen.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, so I feel like the vetting process maybe should have been a little bit better. I did agree with Layla. Like, oh well, that's hero sidekick. That's a construct. So I was like, yeah, you fucking tell them, girl.
Right. Kind of an
And I
outdated
know they're going
system.
for
Yeah.
tropes. Yeah. So my biggest thing was it's a superhero school. Even in My Hero, they were very strict with how they brought up their kids in
Mm.
this school and everything. And I feel like it was very, very lackadaisical in this high school. Like I saw all of 2 teachers. Like,
Oh yeah. We really it is a small kind of school
And a
overall, isn't
nurse.
it?
Yeah, you see like 2 teachers, a nurse, and a principal, and you're like, okay, that sounds right.
Our large
maybe
headed teacher, the guy with the big brain, that's the voice of Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch. The big one-eyed alien. That was my
Yep.
of all the cameos
Oh
for me to get
God,
stoked over. I was like,
yeah.
that's the voice of Pleakley.
That's crazy. I never.
can I
Yeah.
mention
Wow.
him? Can I mention him real quick? Like, why would these, which didn't make sense to me? I feel like his class should have been more for the support heroes because it was like building tech. And so why were all like the heroes taking that when they have the powers? So
Yeah.
I feel like that should have been reversed, maybe.
Yeah, that could have been a little clearer. I think the joke they're going for there is like the Batman gadget belt and how you need to be able to even with your powers manage your
Oh, like
gadget
use. Yeah.
set. But
Maybe.
that could have because also like a freeze ray is a villain's thing. Why would you be building one?
Right.
Yeah.
But like
Fair.
all that. So I was like, it felt very odd to me. Like I get what they're going for, but it still felt a little odd.
Yeah, some of them are like if you think about it, it's kind of begging you not to think about it, and maybe that's why they
Yeah.
went with the camp tone here like.
Yeah.
I hear your point, Hope, but also they were prepared to drop cars on these children, so maybe they don't
Yeah. They
care if a
didn't
kid
care.
shows up dangerously.
And just like blows up the school. I mean,
That's what
I
I'm
also.
saying.
I
Like
think.
they're like, fuck these kids. If they die, they die.
My thing is,
Right.
it's like I kind of had this like. I don't know. Like, it was the same thing as when I watched like Harry Potter as a kid. Like, I had so many fucking questions about how everything worked, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they acknowledged this in the movie. I don't remember, even though I like recently rewatched it, but like, a lot of these kids are the kids of superheroes, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
strongholds,
That's
whatever.
directly implied that you can't have powers unless your
Yes.
parent has
Okay,
powers.
never mind. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, but
Or
what if
or
there's
if
just
they
like,
said the exception was like bit by a spider or toxic waste. Otherwise, you
okay, all
have to
right,
be
never mind. Because I'm like,
from.
because what if you're just born that way and your parents are like, well, we don't know what to do with you, but I
Right.
guess that's okay, never mind. All right. Then yeah, I don't really see. I mean, my only like plot point isn't really like a their plot pain point isn't really a plot pain point. It's just like me questioning like some of the decisions. Like
Totally.
Layla, great character, fabulous. But really, Lil Stronghold, open your eyes, boo. Open your eye. Like I know I keep talking about him, but it's like War
Thank
and Peace
you.
was right there. And he lit the little candle for you with his finger in the Chinese food restaurant. I would have folded. It would have been over for me. Like the movie should
Yeah.
have ended there. She should have been like, you know what? Fuck Will. This is a great date, which she kind of does, right? So, but only to make him jealous. I'm like, you were halfway there, girl. Like you were
Right.
almost there. The thinking was like, you got halfway there.
Now ask yourself, Layla, do you like this kid because he has cool parents, or do you really like this kid? You know what I mean? No, I feel you. I
Like,
think
what are
that
you
scene really
doing?
was like implying that was going to be kind of the fallout later on. So also worth mentioning, all of the main actors for the kids in this movie. So Michael Angarno, Daniel Panabaker, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Also, Patrick Warburton did the voice of Royal Pain. I don't know if you guys caught that, but like Joe from
Yes.
Family Guy was the helmet voice.
Yes.
All of them were signed up for multi-film contracts and a TV show contract when they signed on to this movie. So
Oh
they
wow.
were, to some degree,
Really?
I think, sequel baiting us in that scene to imply that maybe Will and Warren will get like, I guess implying that maybe there'll be a split where Layla ends up with Warren later on. I think that was
Yeah.
what was,
Or like a
if I'm
love
kind of like
triangle story.
yeah, I'm kind of like sniffing out what you do with the sequel plot. And here's my evidence. The last line of the movie where Will calls Warren his best friend, and I was like, Glow is right fucking
Yeah,
there. What
that's
the fuck are you talking about? You two have hated each other for the whole movie.
yeah.
Well, my thing too was they left it with the cliffhanger of the bus driver. Oh, by the way, the bus driver got powers. Like, go back.
Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah, they gave him powers. All the villains weren't killed, so they get to come back
Hmm.
later. That's like that's the most anti MCU aspect about this. I think is that our villain doesn't die at the end, so we can actually do more stuff with them.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I wonder why they didn't do more. Because I know the movie did pretty well. But I guess this was like before streaming, right? Like to do a show like that. It's like I
Yeah,
think if it were made now, well, let's suspend our belief. I'm not saying if Marvel did or didn't exist, but I think if they had like Disney Plus then, right, or if streaming was like more of a thing,
sure.
they would
Yeah.
have they would have continued on and made a show. Like they would have done a sequel or done a show.
Yeah, I think 2005 specifically was a year where you could not get show budgets, and so to
Yeah,
be able to hold up to this
Mhm.
level of like superhero look and action and filmmaking, they would have been taking a step down below even what the CW looks like to do this as a show,
yeah,
and I can
yeah,
imagine that's like
Yeah.
a hard sell to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a Schumacher-esque campy Disney TV show. I can see that not selling, especially with a lot of these people turning into like legit movie actors after this. Like almost everybody here, if they hadn't already been in a lot of stuff, went on to be in a lot of stuff.
right.
Even just like movies, but TV, like Michael Angario, he's in a lot of TV shows that I love. Like
Hmm.
Hmm.
he was in The Nick. I love The Nick. That's a show that it's about like a 1910, 1920s hospital in New York. Like it was
Oh,
dark.
interesting.
I
Oh
loved it.
wow.
Oh, such a good show. Um, so good. I highly I wouldn't mind doing an episode on that show. That was great.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard of it. Where is it streaming?
I I forget. All I remember is it was 2015 and I was laid up in bed for 2 weeks post surgery and I just binged the fuck out of it while I was high off pain meds and it was
Nice.
great. Uh,
Nice.
so that's what got me through my surgery was watching her surgeries. So
Speaking of this actor, did you ever see Lords of Dogtown that he also did in 2005?
Those movies came out in
yes.
the same year.
Same year. Yeah, he put
That's
out
crazy.
Sky
That's a
High
crazy
and then Lords
choice.
of Dogtown. That was the back to back.
That's nuts.
Gee, I didn't realize they were the same year as well. That's crazy.
He looks so
I mean,
much older in Lords of Dogtown.
Yeah.
He looks so young in this movie.
I'm looking it up right now and like just craziness. Craziness.
Wild. Yeah, I think as far as stuff that doesn't work for me, the only thing I'm still trying to work through, and something that just totally slipped me the first time I watched it, uh, our villain is hooking up with a high schooler. What?
Oh, and
Oh
the
yeah.
only line but it's weird because technically she was reverted. It was like their loophole because she was reverted back to a baby, and she's like, I went through puberty again, but it's at this.
Hmm.
So, but did like she retain her knowledge
Yeah, it's
and
like,
her
okay,
Yeah.
memories,
our
or
crimes aren't based on how old our bodies are.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, the fuck the crimes that she did. Like, lock her up, ass up for like molesting child.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie's like, okay, well, she's a supervillain, so let's just concentrate on that. But I was like, even Will calls it out at a moment where he's
He's
like,
made
I
out with
kissed
an
an old
old
lady.
lady.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem stoked on that, so I applaud Disney for having that sense of mind in
Yes.
2005 to not
Yeah.
make him stoked on it. Yeah, just it's the weirdest thing to come out of this on the back end that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this.
Not the best.
I was like,
Mm.
wait, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is doing the same thing in this movie that Scott Pilgrim did in her movie that she was
Yeah.
mad about.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm.
boy. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the only thing that doesn't work for me. Like, I know I can't strongly recommend this movie for probably a lot of our more hero audience because I'm the weirdo who loves all of the old Schumacher Batman. I love campy Batman. I know George
Mhm.
Clooney is mad at himself for making that movie. I think it's a
Oh, I
blessing.
love those movies.
Yeah, I like they are so fun. They are so satirical. They're
Yeah.
borderline
You
cutting
have to
now.
watch. You have to watch it for what it is and not what you want it to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's how
yeah.
you have to go in.
Yeah, you can't go into this expecting like the Winter Soldier. That is not what this is. This is before that
Mhm.
time. This is back when like I mean, this is like right after the like Raimi Spider-Man watershed, which is probably why Bruce Campbell is even here to start
Yes.
with. Um this
Yes.
this looks just like those movies. It has the same action style as those older movies, and I'm hearing that that is not the sensibilities that people have anymore, but I still have those sensibilities. I love a good goofy trampoline backflip in the middle of my action sequence. That shit looks awesome.
Oh gosh. Oh
Well,
yeah. It. I gotta just say, you gotta take it for what it is. You
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
it's a PG Disney superhero movie, and for that, it had some great moments. It did. Is it my favorite movie ever? No. Can I appreciate what it did? Yes. It's that weird middle ground area.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I like. I'm hard pressed to think of a superhero comedy that holds up with like the jokes still being good the way this
Mhm.
does. And I think it's because it's rated G. I think it's in that PG area where like because they couldn't date themselves by being edgy, they had to make their jokes
Yeah.
work. And so
Yeah.
almost everything works here on the back end as far as like the setups and the payoffs to the bits. And I'm thinking back to like even the first Deadpool is like hard to watch sometimes where it's like, oh wow, this is really aged into exactly 2015 or 2016 or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, wow, it's really stuck there. Sky High feels like it could have come out this year and would have been
Yeah.
people would have been like, oh wow, what a fun throwback to this era.
Yeah. Well, I think
That's
that,
the
I mean,
Archer effect.
What's the Archer effect?
Because, so in Archer, you never see them talk about pop culture. You
yeah.
never see them date anything. Like when like they do throwbacks, they're like, what, in the war? But they say like five different wars, so you never know what time frame it
Yeah,
is.
Hmm.
You know, the technology is somewhat dated, but then somewhat futuristic.
right.
So it's they literally make it timeless so it can fit everywhere. And that's kind of what they did for this movie too.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like the technology is on par with like superhero technology, but it's not dated to a specific time, you know.
when I look back at wow, this is rough. Wow, this is rough. I'm looking at 2005 superhero films.
Oh God.
The ones
Oh,
that have
do I
aged
want to
well.
know?
Okay, there's only like 10 of them. I'm going to run through the list, and I just want to get y'all's reactions to some of these. So coming out in 2005, Jesse's going to be so mad he missed this episode. We had Elektra.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer Garner, right?
Yeah. We had Batman Begins and Sky High. Those are the first
Okay.
three. Then we get
Okay.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl came out this year.
Okay, did not realize that.
God.
That's kept its cult following. We also got V for
I
Vendetta.
don't know why.
Because it's like it's Taylor Lautner. You know what I mean?
I've
Like
never seen it.
it's
Is he
cute.
even a thing anymore?
No,
He's married to a woman named Taylor, by the way.
I love
That's
that.
all I know.
I love that. He says his own name during sex. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Other movies that came out this year: the original Fantastic Four, Constantine, and Sin City. That was our 2005 superhero lineup.
What a year.
Yo-yo. That is complete yo-yo.
Yeah.
Literally.
The less notable ones were the Crow sequel came out this year, and the Son of Mask, the sequel to the Mask. So we got two sequels in 2005.
God.
Anybody complaining about sequelitis, man? It's been around for decades.
Yeah, it's been a thing.
Wow. Well, what a trip through 2005 this has been. I really appreciate y'all watching this this campy superhero movie with me. I had so much fun revisiting.
Yeah. I also love the actress who's Wonder Woman like has her cameo
Linda
in it,
Carter,
which I think is
yeah.
Linda Carter.
Yeah.
And she even like makes a joke about it, and I'm like, that's great. This is what the movies is about for me. Like it's just break the fourth wall a
Actually,
little bit, have a good time.
my favorite cameo was Cloris Leachman.
Yeah, no, that she was the nurse, right? Like explaining to him
Yep.
how everything worked. Yeah. I thought that was
Yep.
so sweet.
Awesome. Yeah. Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, and his wife are the couple that bought the house at the end that the school almost crashes on.
We don't need insurance.
That's the we don't need that insurance. Yeah, that was SpongeBob in our
I
Sky
didn't
High
even
movie.
realize that's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yep.
All of the cameos, I think even the big cameos all get like jokes at their own expense because they give Kurt Russell gets a Big Trouble in Little China reference. I
Mhm.
think Bruce Campbell, one of his lines is like a spider, or no, they put him in the cafeteria, which is like a scene ripoff from the first Spider-Man. And then Linda Carter, it says, "I'm not Wonder Woman."
Yeah, like
Wonder
who do you
Woman.
think I am, Wonder Woman or something? Yeah, she
Yeah.
says something along those lines. So cute.
I love it. Oh my god. Yeah, what a great cast, great little era. It sits for me right in between that switch over from like superheroes are goofy 80s cape shit into superheroes are now like meant to be taken seriously and they will run the entire market, and Disney will make all their choices based on how well this does.
Yeah,
What
it
a
was a good
shift.
little transition movie between those two for sure.
So, last question before we end the podcast. Would you guys take a sequel?
Back then, I would have taken a sequel, but it is currently not the proper time for a
Yeah,
sequel.
I
What
think I'm on
Like
that page too.
if they had announced a sequel in like 2006, 2007, I'd be like, cool. But
Yeah,
right now, I'm like, you're good where you're at.
What if
yeah.
they Spy Kids'd it and aged it up and brought back like the kids as their adult actors with their own kids in high school now?
You mean the
I
Mean
think
Girls?
it,
They're doing that with Mean Girls this upcoming year.
yeah,
Hell
which
yeah.
I wish they didn't. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
But
No. Listen, I'm throwing out the producer questions. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
No, I think they left. I think they left it perfectly because
yeah,
they can still have their cult following. They can still get royalties. They can still put it on Disney. It's good worth that,
yeah. I'm
personally.
in the same boat. Like I think if they had done it immediately after, a year or two after, like it would have been cute. And like,
Yes.
you know, I think it would have been fun, even if it were bad. Like, even if it were a bad sequel, who cares? But
Oh,
like,
see, I'm imagining one of those like direct to DVD Disney sequels where like
yeah,
they get like two of the cast members back and that none of the production value, and it's
nobody
just
else,
like,
yeah. I mean, I think even if it was
Yeah.
well done, it just needed to be closer to when the first one came out.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I would have been fine. Like, I don't know. I think they could have done like a lot of really cool and interesting things if it were closer to the time. If they did like what they're basically doing with Mean Girls now, I first of all, I don't think a lot of people would get it. Like, who would be like, wait, what? Like, what is like I feel like so many people don't know about or don't talk about this movie. They
Oh
should.
yeah,
But I think that would be the problem where if you tried bringing back the old cast, a lot of people just wouldn't have the same point of reference as they would for something like Mean
Mm.
Girls, which they should
sure.
have never touched because it was a cult classic and they should have just left it the fuck alone. But either way, like, yeah, I just don't think it would work. Like maybe it'd be kind of cute. I don't know. I mainly want them to do something, or would want them to do something if I could just find out where Steven Strait's been this whole fucking time. But who knows where he is?
Okay, all right.
But
Listen,
yeah,
I would, yeah, like maybe a spinoff then, the War and Peace A24 spinoff.
yeah,
Mm.
No,
Spin-off.
I'm joking. I'll stick
Oh,
with My Hero Academia, and that gives me everything that I need as
yes.
far as
yeah.
spinoffs from Sky High. Well, thank you both for being here so much. I really appreciate it. This
Yeah,
has been
thanks for
such a fun
having me.
episode. Yeah, and I
Yes.
agree. Nobody talks about this movie. Even getting on, I jumped on YouTube and like I found like maybe 3 video essays on the topic. Like
Unreal.
all 3 of them super fans, by the way. Nobody's out here besmirching the name of Sky High. I was happy to
Let's get
see
our
that.
niche.
Well, see, I was afraid that if I Googled it on YouTube, I was going to find a bunch of like back when superhero movies were bad. Check out this awful, and I was ready to be like, oh come on, guys, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It
Yeah,
was not
no,
like that.
it's a cute movie.
So Rebecca, you have a website that you're building that you'd like people to
I
check out. This is our
am.
plug
Well,
section at
I'm
the
not
end.
building it, because I
I'm
can't. But
constructing.
yeah, new website coming next year, RebeccaECarvalho.com. It's just my full name. So you check out my work. I work in copy and content strategy, so you can check out my stuff, drop me a line, put me on your podcast. I clearly love to talk. So yeah, that's me.
Perfect. And I'll have that linked down in the description below as well. It's been great
Thank
having you
you.
on the
Thank
show. I
you.
really appreciate you sliding through.
Yes,
I appreciate
so
it.
glad to have you on here. I
It's
love having
great
more
meeting you.
females to balance it out.
Yes, I'm always happy to come back. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Well, Hope, thank you also for being here. I think that's going to do it for us and this episode on Sky High. Thank you all for watching, and good night.
Night.
Night.